Okay, so let's talk the series. Naruto, the complete series. Both series, the complete story. I know there's more after this, but the central story is done. And I want to reflect on that before Now, I was going to do this video before I did the movie, but it turns out I did it after, just because of my recording windows and how much time I had available and stuff like that. So, it is what it is. So, I'm not going to let the movie color anything. I'm just going to focus on the central story that ended with episode 479. So, first of all, do I think it accomplished what it set out to do? And the question is, what did it set out to do? Okay, well, entertain, obviously, but I think it wanted to give a message that there is a different way to do a predominantly violent story in a way that resolves it without the violence, right? Because everybody's fighting all the time. This is a very violent culture. It's a very violent world they live in, and they're using the magic, and people are slinging enormous power, and we've got 15, 16-year-olds slinging this power. I think the main characters were 15 or 16, maybe 17 when we got to the very end. 17 years old, walking around with nuclear weapons, essentially. Would you trust a 17-year-old with a flamethrower? Like, come on, man. That they've been trained to use it, but still, we're talking about. Think about how impulsive you were at 17. Think about where you were mentally and emotionally, specifically at 17. And imagine yourself having enormous amounts of power you could just sling around and do whatever the hell you wanted with it, right? So, you've got this world with these teenagers who have all this power, and they figure out a way to resolve things peacefully. Peacefully instead of violently. Like, in other words, when Naruto talks to Pain, he talks to him and talks him and reminds him of his humanity and talks him into turning on his evil master and actually sacrificing his life for the people he had hurt. I think Henrietta, wasn't she, I do know that, Naruto apparently ends up with her. Wasn't she one of the people who died? Like, she'd be dead if he hadn't done this? That's, to me, the heart of the series. Naruto's empathy and the fact that he's always looking for a way to talk through a solution rather than just kill people. Let me just kill people. I think he made it through the entire series without killing anybody. I'm pretty sure. There could have been some collateral damage somewhere, but straight up yanking somebody's life from their body. I don't think he did that the entire series. He wanted to find a better way. So it seems to me that is the heart and soul of the theme of the series is we go into a violent world with a violent culture and child soldiers where everything is primed just to be settled with violence all the time. Think about the gangs in the major cities in the United States and even in the world. That's a situation where you've got 15, 16, 17-year-olds with power, the guns, resolving things. How often do they sit down and talk shit out, or do they just shoot at each other? A 17-year-old gets his ass beat, goes out to the car, gets his gun, goes back and kills the person that beat his ass. That's just the way they resolve everything. Nobody's talking anything out. This is kind of the same culture here. This is a warrior culture. It's a violent culture. We're using chakra wrong, but we're using it to commit violence on each other, to hurt each other, to dominate each other. So we want to take a story set in that world and have people talk out their problems. At the end of the day, yeah, there's going to be plenty of violence, but at the end of the day, they talk out their problems. If that is the central message of the series, and I believe it is, how successfully did they pull that off? Well, I actually don't think they pulled it off very well. And here's why. I want to read you a comment on, I think it was the very last episode. This is from 479 from Breesan. I was complaining about the fight not being necessary. Yes, the fight was absolutely necessary. It's the only way for Naruto to reach Sasuke. And there's a lot more there. You should go there and read the full comment. And Breesan explains why that was the only way for Naruto to reach Sasuke. Okay, so no one had ever went as far as Naruto did to him. There's a very good rationale. I like the comment. It's a very good rationale. But what you're saying is, in a series where the central message is we're going to talk through our problems and we're going to use empathy to reach people. The final resolution, the climax, the way Naruto reaches Sasuke is to kick his ass and to get his ass kicked by him. It was the only way to reach Sasuke was violence. So you're telling me the central message of a series that seems to be we're going to talk through our problems, we're going to use our empathy and our love for our friends to resolve things without the violence that's been going on for the last 2,000 years. The only way to do that is with violence. That feels like a half-baked, unfocused way to... like. You seem to be undercutting your entire thing. You're telling me the way the story is set up, there was no other way to reach Sasuke. Then what the hell was the point of the last 700 episodes? What was the point of all this empathy and talking and resolving things if you're just going to fight each other? If the only way to reach Sasuke was to fight him? What was the point? Like, you had to go that far. You had to, both of you approach near death, rip each other's arms off, lay there dying, and that's finally when Sasuke gets the point. I just don't think, if your theme was let's find another way besides violence, how does that cap your theme? How does that bring the point home? How does that cross the finish line? Maybe I'm misreading the theme. Maybe the theme is something else. Maybe the theme is friendship forever or whatever. You know, I mean, there's a lot of themes in the story. This wasn't just about one thing, but I spent the entire series thinking the theme was, or at least once I realized that Naruto's empathy, which I think was around the storyline with Sai. I'll never forget the moment it clicked for me that like Naruto's best superpower is his empathy. Was Sai was on his side now, was on Naruto's side, was going to help him, and Naruto asked him, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He potentially sacrificed something that was going to benefit him because he cared that Sai was going into this with his eyes open and this is something he actually wanted to do. That was the moment it clicked for me that Naruto's empathy was his greatest superpower. And then the whole theme of the series started to come into focus and click into place. And then what he did with Pain clicked into place. You know, and even Orochimaru, you know, like that's been kind of interesting. We'll talk about that more later. But I just feel like it's like having an anti-war film, and at the end, your hero is decorated for killing more enemy than any soldier's ever killed ever. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that the resolution, the only way to reach Sasuke was fighting him. The only way to prove how much you cared about him was fighting him to near death. That's the same shit we've been doing for the last 2,000 years. How's that any different? So I actually think they had a great theme, a great message, and they really did not stick to landing. They didn't nail it, the conclusion. You know, and that's too bad. So, as far as that goes, you know, I don't know. Like, you know, I don't know if the show distorted it. If the theme hit better and was concluded better in the manga. I don't know. That's actually possible. It just occurred to me. Like, it could just be the show won a big fight to finish. And it would be anticlimactic if they didn't fight at all. Like, I think it would be better they start to fight. And we have maybe an exciting full episode of them fighting each other. And then Naruto's finally like, look, man. And just drops his dukes. Doesn't hold on to any power anymore. He's like, look, man, look. I don't want to fight you. I'm not going to fight you. I'm done fighting you. And Sasuke realizes he can't attack somebody who's completely defenseless and kill him. And then that drives the point home. So you still have your cake and eat it too. You can still have the fight. And I know they talk after they're laying there near dead, but they went all the way to the point of being near death. At that point, like, you know, yes, they did talk. But I just feel like there was a better way to do it. So I don't know. Like, I've always said, epic stories are really hard to end. I think successfully 100% sticking the landing on an epic story. And epic means told over years large scale, lots of characters, lots of things need to be resolved, overriding message, epic storytelling. Those things, those kind of stories have only been completely 10 out of 10, 100% completed perfectly, stuck the landing perfectly, maybe twice in all of human history, as far as what I've seen. I consider Breaking Bad epic storytelling. Now, it wasn't large stakes. It's not really what we're talking about. The fate of the world wasn't really at stake. It didn't affect the entire country. So maybe it doesn't qualify for epic storytelling, but they nailed the landing. They stuck the landing so good. I feel like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, at least, stuck the landing really well. But, it deviated from the manga, so I don't know. Attack on Titan did a pretty good job. That was more of an 8 out of 10. And it gets progressively worse from there. It's really, really hard to stick the landing. Harry Potter didn't stick the landing. Lord of the Rings, probably. I'd call it a 9 out of 10. They didn't really stick the landing. It did pretty good. Especially for this time period. But it's hard. So the degree of difficulty we're talking about here is immense. Because it's a long story. And you got to keep track of your theme, keep track of the characters, resolve everything, do it in an entertaining way, and stay true to the spirit of the story. And that's really the heart of what I'm talking about here. I don't think the resolution being there was no other choice than to fight each other to near death. I don't believe that's sticking to the spirit of the story, in my opinion. Now, I've only watched it once. I haven't even actually technically finished it. So I'm no expert on the spirit of the story, but that's just my sense, first time through. So, but I'm not shitting on the story, and like I said, if we were just to rank this right now, grade it, it'd be a 7.5 out of 10, because I feel like they didn't stick to the spirit of the story, but still great, resolution. From an entertainment factor, it's a 10 out of 10. It's highly entertaining. So let's get to the characterization. Naruto's character arc from beginning to end was perfection. I think they just handled it really well. And he is the star of the series, and I know it's an ensemble show, but that story arc, his character arc, was perfectly handled from beginning to end. And we have you want to leave the story with no questions left. That's why in Harry Potter, for instance, you find out everything there is to know about his parents before we end the story. There's no reason to do a prequel. We know everything. If you end the story and you feel like you need a prequel to understand what happened to the generation prior to this generation, the story wasn't very well done. You want to start with a ton of questions, and by the end of the series, you don't have any questions left when it comes to character arcs. It's where did they come from? What motivated them? What motivated the generation before them? What all happened to set everything up? The world he entered, all that stuff, handled very well. So perfect story arc. I can't think of a single thing I would change. We talked about the very ending, but I'm talking about his character arc. His character arc. Even if we want to throw the movie in there too, I think that was a really good continuation. You'll see what I think about the movie, if and when you watch that, right? So I'm going to divorce the two things here. But just as far as the series proper, I literally can't think of a single thing I would do differently. That was the perfect story arc. Sakura, they didn't adapt her properly, and even if we just talk about this and don't, the manga never existed, be what the hell is her character arc? It's kind of all over the place. I think it could just be a product of the times. We just do a better job writing female characters now than we did 20 years ago. That's just the reality of the situation. You're serving other masters when you're a TV show, and the network may have notes. I don't know how it works in Japan. Here in America, I know that there will be a lot of notes. The one TV show I tried to get off the ground, I had 4 female leads, 2 male leads, and they insisted I flip that and make it 2 female leads and 4 male leads. I said no, and so they cut the funding. Just cut me off. So, that was my one chance to make it big. And that was only 2014? 10 years ago. That was only 10 years ago. They did not want 4 female leads. Pretty Little Liars was on 10 years ago, wasn't it? Charmed would have been on. 3 female leads. Pretty Little Liars had 4 female leads. It may not. It may have been like right around the same time. It was based on a popular book series, so that's probably how they got it greenlit, without having to change it. It had to have been on the air by 2014. So that doesn't make much sense. But that was just, even just 10 years ago. That was the world we lived in, right? So it is what it is. I don't know how much we can really damn the show, but it feels like even if we include the manga, which again I haven't read firsthand, I've only heard secondhand, they had a blueprint they could have followed and chose not to. But her story is kind of all over the place. She started the second series strong, and then, like I've talked about in a recent reaction, just petered out to nothing almost. So I don't know, man. I like what we got. I really like that her and Naruto didn't end up together. Really like that a lot. As much as I bitch about how Hermione and Harry should have ended up together, I also like that. You have the 2 biggest, brightest characters in your world probably shouldn't end up together because that's just such a goddamn cliche, Even Star Wars kind of averted that cliche because you would think it'd be Luke and Leia, right? So I really like that he didn't end up, especially with him having a crush on her. So I like that. And I like that she didn't end up with Sasuke. Like I've said, I complained the whole time. That made no sense. But if we take you've heard my complaints about the childhood crush, and person you have a crush on at 12, you're not going to still have feelings for at 16. You've heard all that. I'm not going to reiterate it. What if we flip it? What if I play devil's advocate for a second and say it was mythic star-crossed lovers meant to be soulmates, right? And she just recognized it really early. I could probably have lived with that. I can see that. My parents were soulmates, Dad never dated again after Mom died. They divorced, in probably, let me think, 24 years before she died, something like that. No, 14 years before she died. They divorced, and so in the 14 years after they divorced, until she died, he dated. I met a couple of his girlfriends. He would date. And he always said he figured that she and he were in game and they would grow old together and die together, right? He thought my mom would be his caretaker. I ended up being his caretaker when he got old. But he always thought she would be. So for the 14 years she was still alive and they were divorced, he would date. When she died, he never dated again. They were soulmates. He just didn't have it in him anymore. There was nothing, he had no interest in it ever again. He lived for another 24 years. No, 28 years. Shit. He lived for 28 years after she died. Never dated again. Soulmates. So, that kind of thing can strike at any age. So, they could totally be soulmates. I could talk myself into that and be like, yeah, they were soulmates. So, it could have worked. But I guess the reason why it always felt silly to me is it was never returned. It was never reciprocated. He never felt that way with her. He just considered her a friend at best, right? And a lot of times, most of his time and energy is spent on Naruto. Most of his obsession was with Naruto. She didn't seem to be in the same category. So, if he had reciprocated along the way and just be like, okay, I do love you, but I have to choose my destiny, which is to go kill my brother, I probably would have been way more okay with it and just put it in the star-crossed, soulmate category. But since that didn't happen, I just like that she didn't end up with either one of them. I'd love for her to end up with somebody that we never even met. The only good thing about the last few seasons of True Blood is the main character, Sookie Stackhouse, ends up with somebody we never even meet in the series. We don't know his name. It's just some random dude. They do a flash forward and she's with some random dude. Because she met him after the series ended. And that's who she ended up being happy with. That's what you want, man. It just feels better. It feels more realistic. So, I like what we got with her, but I just feel like we could have gotten more. Sasuke. The only complaint I really have with him is it may be intentional as part of his story arc, but I don't think it was. I think he just disappeared too much in the series. It felt like he should have been more of a main character. He disappeared for a huge stretch of time in the first series and disappeared a lot in the second series. wasn't even there at the beginning, which is okay because he's like the goal. You're looking for him. And so you like the mystery that we don't know where he is and what he's doing. But even after he kills Orochimaru, which probably was the biggest twist in the entire series, looking back, there was a lot of twists and turns. There was a lot of great twists. If I'm going to rank the single biggest twist in the entire series, him just killing Orochimaru. I know Orochimaru comes back, but that who cares that he comes back? In the moment, that was like mind blowing. Completely blew my mind. Completely blew the timeline and the conception I had of this series. Turned the whole series on its head. But then he just kind of disappears again. You know, and now he comes back here and there, you know. But I'd be very curious what his final episode count was for the two series total. And if minor characters approach that number. Like Gaara, for instance. Relatively minor character. Did he actually appear in more episodes than Sasuke did? That would be interesting to know. I might do something. I might look at like if there's totals of who was in so many episodes. I think that it might actually be revealing. But the biggest problem I have with Sasuke is after he kills Orochimaru, he's so unfocused. It's like they don't know what the hell to do with him. Okay, first, he's going to assemble a friend group that kind of resembles his old friend group. So he gathers together some people. They walk around a little bit. They have a little bit of shit talking. And then, you know, they do one job. And then they just disappear. It falls apart. So what the hell was the point of any of that, man? Why bring them together? And they don't do anything. They don't do anything as a group. Like he forms this team, and then when it's actually time for him to fight his brother, he doesn't want them involved. And they do, like I said, they do like one mission together. I don't even remember what the mission was. I think they did one mission. They did one thing together. And the characters were interesting. They were well drawn out, like, you know, three-dimensional. I hated Karen or whatever her name was. The voice actress was terrible, and plus she was horribly written on top of it. But even she was a three-dimensional character. Like, you know, she wasn't cardboard. You know, and so what was that? Like, and then he's just off by himself. You know, and then he just like randomly shows up here and there. And it's just, I mean, there was just no cohesive through line. We don't know what the hell he is. He wants, where he's going, what he's doing. He's out of the series for a lot of it. We just don't know what the hell's going on with it. So it's just, it felt so unfocused. It's like, okay, let me roll the D&D dice. Okay, he's going to do this. All right, let me roll again. Okay, oh, now he forms a group. Now he's going to disperse the group. Now he's going to show up here. Now he's going to show up there. I mean, it felt so random. You know, so that was a very unsatisfying character arc. His actually emotional journey was great. I would put it near perfect. Like, I would actually put it perfect. You look at his backstory, it was fire. His backstory is excellent, man. And then you look at his motivations, made complete sense. Most of the actual milestones in his character arc, like, you know, encountering his brother the first time, getting, you know, captured by Orochimaru, the whole thing of trying to get him back, and then they don't, and then spending time with Orochimaru, and then killing Orochimaru. Like, just, you know, and then seeing, you know, meeting Toby and having a conversation with Toby, and then, you know, that shit was all excellent, man. And then the end of his story arc. Then he comes in, he's going to help us, you know, defeat the world-ending event, you know, civilization-ending event anyway. So he does that. That was great. And then the turn at the end, stabbing us in the back. No, I'm going to take over and you all go to hell, right? That was great. And then the resolution was fantastic. The character arc, the emotional journey of the character and where he is there, that's all great. The details of his actual journey don't make any goddamn sense for the most part. Like, that middle part is just fuzzy as hell. And it's just, you could have cut out the entire thing, everything of him getting together into the new group. It was interesting. The potential was very interesting. There's a lot they could have done with, he's trying to duplicate the friend group he had with Teen 7. And I even drew parallels, and there was some really good parallels, and they kind of lined up, right? He was trying to duplicate that, and then it just didn't work. It wasn't good enough. They weren't his actual friends. And there's more they could have done with that. He could actually say that. He could be like, look, I'm dissolving the group. This is what I was trying to do. It didn't work. It's not good enough. And that's probably what the author intended. It might have even been what was in the manga. It wasn't in the series. We got to read between the lines, which is fine. But you could have literally just taken all that out since you didn't really stick the landing on that part of it. Since you didn't be like, okay, I was trying to do that. I was trying to duplicate my friend group. It didn't work. I miss my old friends. Since you didn't do that, you could have completely removed that and it wouldn't have changed his arc at all. It wouldn't have changed his emotional journey one single bit. Because his emotional journey is about what happened in the past, trying to forget about that and get as strong as he can. And then he realizes he can't get any stronger with the people he is, so he just goes with the Orochimaru, gets stronger, kills the Orochimaru, and then, finds out the shit from Toby, changes his mind, now he wants to destroy the Leaf Village. And then, all these like things progress to the end, and he joins the fight against the end of civilization, and then he turns on everybody and he's going to be in charge. All those emotional beats remain completely unchanged if you take out this shit of him forming his subpar adventures, right? If you can pull it out and it changes nothing, then you screwed up. And I believe you can. So they really, either the show or the author or both, really screwed the pooch on the middle part of his journey, while somehow still nailing the entire emotional journey in a very satisfying way. I've never seen anything like that before. Usually if you have a meandering around, you can see this with Game of Thrones with some of these character arcs, it ruins the character if you just have them meandering around for the middle part of the story. But somehow they got it back on track and it all works, right? But yeah, so that wasn't a very satisfying story, character arc in the details, in the moment, episode to episode, as we're going along, especially when you look back. But like I said, the character emotional journey, the internal journey, perfection. That's hard to do. So I guess they should deserve credit for that. They managed to stick it. They managed to get there with him. The other person I want to talk about is Kakashi. Fantastic character arc. He doesn't really change that much. His emotional, where he's at emotionally, I believe doesn't really change that much from the very beginning of the series to the very end of the series. Our perception of him changes. From what I thought about him at the beginning to where he is at the end of the story, like Hokage. Like, who saw that coming, right? But not even that. Like, that's just details. I'm talking about his emotional journey, finding out his backstory. And having that come back to him. Obito's still alive, and finding, that was the eye he had the whole time, and then losing his eye, and then, that was a great character arc. I love his character, and I love his arc. I feel like they nailed it. Again, he kind of disappeared here and there, but then he's also a third-tier character if we're talking about importance. He wasn't around for a lot of it, and that's okay. What he was there, would rather be that than have some meandering ass storyline you could just pull out that affects nothing. So that's okay. So that works for me. Just real quick, some of these other... I love Shikamaru's arc throughout the course of the series. Choji, he got some bright moments in the sun. Who else? I think Asuma was a weird one. Him and Sai are very weird. They don't appear in the first series at all, as far as I remember. Asuma may have been here and there, like somewhere. Like I don't remember him in the first series. He may have been a little bit around. Sai wasn't. They come in strong to start this series, and then both of them just vanish. And then Asuma comes back a little bit, and then he's just off the board completely because they're using his woodworking powers. We'd never see him in captivity. I think maybe one scene in captivity, and he just comes back at the very end of the series and everything's done. He's done. So it's just, you would almost forget about him. Like, if I didn't like him so much, I probably wouldn't even remember him, So that was weird. And Sai was really weird. I don't understand the Sai character at all. Like, what were they doing with him? He's the one that I literally don't understand. What was his point? What was his purpose? He's a Sasuke replacement. He had the best character introduction in the entire series, unless we're not talking about the first two episodes where we meet Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi, Sasuke. Take that off the board. Every other character introduction in the rest of the entire series, including Pervy Sage, Sai had the best introduction. We go there, we spend some time with him, we go on a mission, we come back, he's looking at his book, and he draws that thing. You remember the part I'm talking about? Like, it was the very last episode. Then there was some filler or something, but like he draws him and his friends. I think it was. I said at the time, like, I was blown away how good that was. You know, like, it was that by that point we spent 20 or 30 episodes with him, and that ended that first part of his story arc in the absolute perfect way. He's in his room. He's got his drawings. He remembers. It was just blew me away. That was that. If we count all that as a character introduction, the best character introduction in the entire series. And if we don't see jack shit from him, he doesn't do shit for the rest of the entire series, man. The rest of the series, like, yeah, he's in some scenes. He uses his powers here and there, but man, he doesn't get a character focused episode. He doesn't meaningfully affect any other character arc. Doesn't have like a conversation that affects somebody or an adventure with somebody that affects them. He doesn't change from that point. Like, he doesn't do shit, man. So what the hell is the point of him? Like, what was the point of it? Like, what are you doing with this character? That maybe I would just liked him more, and he was never supposed to be anything. He was supposed to just be, okay, we're gonna spend some time. We got somebody here. It's kind of cool. He's got a power we could use now and then. We'll use him in the movie. But, you know, he fills out a spot. But you don't get attached to him and don't expect anything from him. You know, maybe that's what it was. And I went too deep on it, right? Like, it's kind of like Kate and Angel. You don't want to get too invested. You know, that was different in that they originally had huge plans and then changed their mind. I don't know if that happened here. It's entirely possible he was just never supposed to be anything. And I just liked his character introduction so much, I wanted so much more and never got it, right? That's entirely possible. So that was pretty damned unsatisfying, him and Asuma, but we are talking about third or fourth tier characters, so I don't think that negatively impacts the story. It's just my personal experiencing the story. Feel a little disappointed. Now, I'm going to finish the series, of course, the canon episodes, and I'm going to go back and watch a bunch of the filler. And hopefully I'll get more of those characters and more of some of the other people I like in the course of doing that. Gotta say, man, if I was to rank this anime among everything that I have finished, I gotta put it above Attack on Titan, which is pretty high for me. If I'm talking about anime that are completely finished, that I have completely finished, and if we don't include one season series, because, you know, Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo would probably be the top two ever. There have been a lot of good ones. Trigun was really good. But, you know, those are so short, you can't compare that to 700 episodes. You just can't do it. So we got to be talking about things that got 100 episodes or more. Which, like, I'm doing Monster right now. That didn't even get to 100 episodes. So, not many shows do. Well, you know, actually, I can't do 100 because, like, you know, Attack on Titan, I don't think got to 100. It may have. I don't think Fullmetal Alchemist. So let's just say 70 and above. Let's put the cutoff at 70 episodes and above. It's hard to compare 70 episodes to 700, but, you know, we need something to compare it to, or Naruto's going to be in a class by itself. So if we're doing that, I guess I'd put Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood 1, Naruto 2, Attack on Titan 3. That's where it'd rank. When I finish Monster, it's going to be really high. So we'll see about that. My Hero Academia, I haven't finished. When I finish it, you know, that's going to be really high. We'll see how they stick to landing, if they do. But that'll probably be another one that's fairly comparable. But yeah, this one is fantastic. I'd recommend it to anybody. I'm glad that the people that recommended it to me. Andy was the first person on this bandwagon a long time ago with the original series. You know, basically by himself talked me into watching this. So full credit there. Definitely appreciate that. I appreciate the support from him throughout. And the people have been supportive recently with a lot of comments and stuff like that. Barracuda and Breesan really up there with a lot of the comments and a lot of the insight and stuff. I don't know that I would have enjoyed this series. Matter of fact, I know for a fact I would not have enjoyed this series as much without those two for sure. and everybody else who's contributed and comments here and there and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I'll get back. I'm trying to fit in a couple more episodes today after the filler. So I'm excited to see what this show's going to look like from now on. So let's stop this here and go do that. Quick little PS to the series. Two things. First of all, every time I said Asuma, and I'll correct it with text, hopefully, if I remember, I meant Yamato. I don't know why the hell I was saying Asuma. He had a great story arc, but I meant Yamato. Jesus, moron. I just reached the part in episode 485 when we run into Yamato, where I get his actual name, and then he mentions he's guarding Orochimaru. Reminding me that this is something I definitely wanted to hit on. I forgot to do it. Orochimaru. Well, this gave me a little bit of answers. I stopped the episode. I don't want to know any more details about what's happening with him. But he's another one I would put in the category of what I knew before. I'm using the information that I knew at the end of the story arc, which was they didn't really address it. We don't know what happened. We know he was in the dream world because we saw him come out, and that's it. They didn't address it at all. Now they start to address it here, so unfortunately I'm a little bit spoiled on this, but I'm going to just work with the information I had when I recorded the rest of this video, which is that was an unfulfilling character arc. He's a great villain, absolutely great, one of my favorite villains ever. Gets killed very unexpectedly, very surprisingly, very plot twisty, and that was actually, if they had stopped right there, it would have been a perfect story arc. Perfect. It would have been a perfect character arc if they had stopped right there. But they didn't stop right there. They brought him back. And he kind of made Kabuto a pointless character at that point. Kabuto's another one that's all over the place. There were so many characters all over the place. It's like they're meandering. This is my character arc. No, this is my character arc. No, this is my character arc. Kabuto, perfect example. He's the lick spittle, butt boy. But you'd think maybe, at least I thought the whole time he's working another angle. He's going to betray him. No, he's just completely loyal. He's not going to betray him. Then his buddy dies, right? His master dies, and he kind of impersonates him, takes on a persona, takes on his powers. That's interesting. And if he'd just been killed, that'd have been fine. But then he just gets drained of Orochimaru's powers because Orochimaru comes back, and that's it. It's just, basically he was a plot device to resurrect people, to get Toby to the point where he could resurrect people. But you could pull him out. It just say Toby already had the power to do that. Nothing much changes. So, like I said, he's kind of meandering all over the place. It was an interesting character arc, but it felt unfocused and all over the place. There was a lot of that in this series. Orochimaru, another one. What the hell did he ever want? He kind of flits back, and if that's just his character, that's fine. And it's double fine to have one character in a story that doesn't know what the hell he wants. I talk about Bojack Horseman, Diane. What the hell did she want? Every time she got something she wanted, she didn't want it. She wanted something else. It's fine to have one. You didn't have 5 characters in the story that were that way. You had one. It's fine to have one. Diana was fine. Orochimaru would be that one for this series. That's just kind of his character. He doesn't know what the hell he wants. He's with the ninja. He's a good boy. He has friends. He's fighting wars for the Leaf Village, and all of a sudden he's evil. Okay, well, he's evil. That's cool. He turncoat. He turned evil. Then he wants a body replacement, because he takes over other people's bodies. Then he doesn't want that, and then he wants Sasuke dead, but then he doesn't want Sasuke dead, and then, is he evil? Is he not evil? What the hell does he want? Like, we don't know. Like, he's all over the place. So that's just his character. That's okay. I don't particularly like that kind of character. I kind of like you have a goal and stick to it. Toby, for instance, had a goal, he stuck to it, and then he changed his mind at the very end. But he didn't change his mind 15 times in the story like Orochimaru. And then you have Kabuto. Basically had a similar where he just was wandering all over the place and what the hell is he doing? What does he want? And then his arc just stops, right? So Orochimaru was more satisfying, and like I said, one of my favorite villains ever. And really what I'm talking about is after he got revived. Everything before he got revived was perfect and fine. Gets revived. He was interesting in every scene he was in, because you don't really know what the hell he's going to do. But he didn't really do anything. From the point from the very moment that Orochimaru got revived, Did he impact the plot or anybody else's character arc in any way? I'm trying to think. Did he impact the plot at all? Did he kill a villain nobody else could have killed? Did he save somebody's life that's important? I don't think so. Now, there's a lot to keep track of here. A lot has happened since he got back. I don't think he did. It was cool to have him back. I like hanging out with him, but like, did he do anything? I don't remember. Somebody remind me if he did. But then the story just ends, and we never hear it. Like, we don't hear what he's going to do. It's a dangling plot point, a dangling character arc, which I guess got addressed in a light novel somewhere, because now the second episode I'm back into watching this stuff, all of a sudden he's back and they're going to deal with it, right? And I guess he was. I didn't really catch the dialogue. I'm going to back it up a bit and catch some of the more dialogue, but I guess Yamato's protecting him because they don't want anybody messing with him, and he's just cool now. Like he's not going to do anything evil. Maybe the protective details to make sure he doesn't do anything evil, but I don't know. So I guess what happened was there must have been a light novel that dealt with him, and now we're going to see that, right? Like this. I'm assuming this entire plot line was a light novel, which sounds really good. This is a great plot so far. I'm only an episode and a half into it. But yeah, I didn't want to finish this thoughts video about the entire series without talking about one of the most signature, probably the signature villain. If I'm going to rank the villains, favorite villain is Orochimaru. Because the voiceover actor is incredible, the character design is incredible, his powers are incredible, just absolutely delicious, just fantastic, just everything top of the pops. The most powerful villain was Madagata, you know who I'm talking about. Him. Mother wasn't in it long enough. She's only in a couple episodes. She was interesting. She was cool, and I liked the Mada Rara, whatever. I liked that he got punked by her, but she wasn't in enough for her to make the list, right? But like, you got Orochimaru, Mada, whatever, Harry, whatever, Toby, Obito. Danzo would be fourth. I don't know if anybody else, like, I guess some of the other Akashi are really cool. Pain was like terrifying at the time, like he seemed unbeatable. So he was a really good villain. I guess a lot of the Sasori, a lot of the Akashi would basically fill out the rest of the list. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, I didn't want to finish the video. Him being brought up again reminded me I completely forgot to address him at all. So those are my thoughts on him. And now I'll go back to watching the episodes.